So
No.
yeah. Yep. So how did you get here today?
I took the bus.
Is it a simple bus ride or is it a complicated? Like for you, would
It's pretty simple for me. I live just like a street away from the stop, so I just probably walk 3 minutes to the stop and wait for it.
so transportation for you is pretty easy in this area?
Sometimes the buses can be late, and you might miss your class, but that's rarely. It's not always like that.
If there's one thing you could improve about the transportation in San Francisco, what do you think it would be?
I think just like staying on schedule is very important because people have places to go and they want to get on time, so they plan ahead when they go to the bus stop. So I think that's like one of the things they gotta try to manage because there's a lot of construction going on all the time and slows down the traffic.
Do you have any friends or family who live outside of the San Francisco area that
Yeah.
have a hard time getting to San Francisco?
I'm not sure if they would have a hard time, but it's not the simplest way to get to San Francisco sometimes. You might take the wrong bus, or there's not like a direct way to get here from other places. Sometimes you have to change from bus to BART, from the train to a bus, and things like that that can get confusing. So yeah, I think it's maybe hard for other people.
Cool. Thank you.
That's pretty good.
All right.
Thank you so much. All right, should be good. All right, just answer.
So first question would be like, how do you usually go out if you wanted to go to the store, or groceries, or go out and do stuff? What method of transportation do you usually use?
Usually if I'm getting groceries, I'll go to the Target by Stonestown and I'll just like hoof it. But if I'm like usually out and about, I'm usually going to the M. Pretty fond of it. It's not like the worst transportation I've ever been on. I think a lot of people really hate BART. Like I've heard some horror stories about BART. Like I had a friend who said she got like necked by like a dude, and then the dude ran out at a stop. But I like the M. The M is awesome. That's usually what I use to like get around everywhere.
Do you know any friends or family who live outside of San Francisco that have to commute into San Francisco?
I have a friend or somebody I know who's from Hayward, which is like pretty far away, and they usually just use like the BART and then like a few like connecting buses, but I think that's about it.
Yeah. So far from what they have told you and what you know about the transportation, what are some things that you think that we could definitely improve on in the transportation in San Francisco?
I'd probably say, I mean, like everybody, probably just like safety and like cleanliness, of course. Some of the BART is like kind of gross and dirty. And then I know just for like some of the girls I know, like they hate BART just because they feel really unsafe. So I'd say definitely like security, or just like something to make them feel a little bit more safe.
And final question, what would be some things that you could point out that you really like about the transportation in San Francisco and that you think is better than most other cities?
Oh, okay. The smell. The M doesn't smell horrible. And I'd probably say it's like usually pretty consistent. I went to New York for a little bit, and like their transportation, like if you're on Google, it's like who knows if this is going to come in the next 5 or 20 minutes. I'd say in SF like that doesn't really happen as much. So I'd say like it's fairly consistent, except for like weekends, which is when it gets a little muddy. But I'd say yeah, I like it because it's consistent and it doesn't smell horrible.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So just tell us a little bit about how you came to campus today.
Yeah, so to get to campus, I take BART from Pleasanton, and then when I get here, I take Muni, or usually the campus has a shuttle, so it's either one to get on campus.
If there's one thing that you could say that you'd probably want to improve about San Francisco transportation in general, what would you say?
I think it really depends on the location, because I know in more crowded areas, there's a lot of like Muni buses all the time. But then last week when I was trying to get from the Daly City BART to Stonestown, I think the usual route there, or the shortest route there, they didn't really have a lot of services that day. So then I had to take another bus, and it was taking a really long time. So that's one thing I would change. I'd say just like even on weekends, even if they're not expecting a lot of people, it would be better if there were just more buses and service going to different locations.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.